Hey everyone, my name is Tommy Reynolds and I'm going to be showing you a quick overview how I edit my photographs using Adobe Lightroom. I also use Photoshop as well, but it depends on what I'm editing, depending on what whether I'll use Photoshop or not. I will always use Lightroom for everything, and then I will use Photoshop as an additional means of editing. So if I'm doing a beauty retouch, then that's something that I will bring into Photoshop, but I will first edit the colors and edit anything else that I need to in Lightroom. So Lightroom is always the first point of call. So if I'm doing stuff, if I'm doing music, photographing live music, I will rarely bring the photos into Photoshop because I just simply don't need to. I can do everything I need to do in Lightroom. It's so versatile, it's great, it's a lot better than it was years and years ago. Some of the features they have now are brilliant. I'm currently using the CC version, which is at this point in time the latest version. I've only seen one major change between the CS6 and CC, which I'll show you in a sec, but without further ado, let's just jump straight into it. So after you've imported your images, I've just got three here just to show you. You're going to go to the Develop tab. Now, another reason why I just love using Lightroom is if you're doing wedding photography and you've got about 5, 6 or 1,000 images, they're going to all display at the bottom here like a film strip, so you can edit one, move on to the next, and then you can save them all at the very end, rather than in Photoshop, if you're not using a raw editor, opening up one at a time and editing one at a time, because that would just take forever. It's just so versatile. And one of the main things that I love is that the effects tab over here, if you've got filters over here, I've installed some filters, and one of the main things that I use is Visco film for my filters. So if you head over to the Visco film website, visco.co, you'll be able to check out all of the filters that they have. I don't have all of them, but I do have most of them. I just think they're absolutely brilliant. They replicate real film stock, and there's loads to choose from. So going back into Lightroom, this is all the ones I have, and the beauty of it is you can see, hovering over it, I'm able to see in real time what the image looks like. So if I like the look of this, these black and white ones, I can just find a black and white one. I might like the look of that, and then just hit the button and it will instantly turn it there. And then over here I can then start to tweak that filter, and that is what I would do 100% of the time. I will find a filter that I kind of think that's kind of in the right ballpark of what I want to do. Then so I'll select it and then tweak it from there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do exactly that. We're going to find a filter that I like, and so this is an unedited one. I've already edited this one, but I can't actually remember what filter I use, so we're just going to pretend that I don't know. Well, I don't know. We're just going to find another filter similar to my edit, or we might even try something else. This is the beauty of it. I can come here and I can just find something new every time. So looking through here, we've got all the different Visco filters I use. 9 times out of 10 I will use one of their filters and rarely come over here and tweak it from scratch. I kind of, because it's so quick for me to do, because I try and spend as little time editing as I can and more time shooting, because the more time I'm in here editing is less time I'm out earning money as a working photographer. So that's what I love about this workflow. It's so quick and easy for me. So let's look through and find one that we like. So I kind of dig this one. Straight away I can see that it's kind of a bluey tinge. There's kind of reds in there, and a lot of my edits I kind of like to mess around and give it more of a green tint, is what I like. So I will pretty much edit in the order in which you're seeing these things. There are some things that I don't use at all, but we're going to see what I use as we go through it. So I might go a little bit quiet so you can just carry on watching. But so looking at this, I'm going to give it a hint of green straight away. I think kind of make this a little bit warmer. Okay, Okay, I'm just going to bring down the clarity. This is a great slider. So this really brings out the detail and can help really punch that contrast in a different way to the contrast. It just brings out a little bit more detail, makes highlights highlights and makes shadows shadow, if that makes sense. But we can tweak them individually here as well. So depending on what camera you're using will ultimately depend on how much you can play in this area here. So for example, if you are taking a photograph with a DSLR in RAW mode, which is the uncompressed kind of CR2 or NEF file if you're using Nikon, you'll have more dynamic range in post-production to play with. So don't ever shoot JPEG for a serious job, because if the sky was completely blown out by not much, but so if it was a little bit blown out, I can recover it. So you can see here the dynamic range is pretty good. You've got a lot to play with here. Whereas if it was a JPEG, if it was blown out, it's pretty much gone. You've lost the data. It's really hard to mess around with exposure and color. But luckily we here shot with RAW. Okay. Scrolling down, that looks good. I like to play with the curves. This is a really nice little feature, a little tip here. If you want to give it more of a film look, then kind of make a little dot here, and then using the one here, just kind of pinch it upwards, and you start to see that the black levels here, it kind of just helps give it that more of that film look if you like that look. Scrolling down, you can use, this is cool, so you can select highlight. So if I want to make it even warmer, this will just make it warmer, and you can just see this in real time, which is really cool. Sharpening, this is pretty cool. So you can sharpen the image, but what I like to do is go to the masking. If you hold down Alt and then adjust your mask, then you're telling Lightroom exactly what textures you want to sharpen by changing the mask. Now obviously you don't want to sharpen the whole image, because it would just look like you've sharpened the whole image, whereas if you adjust the masking so it's only sharpening certain edges, then it will look more real. The sharpening tool will look more real, if that makes sense, rather than just slapping a sharpen filter over the whole thing. This works and helps it look a lot better. Looking at it, I'm not so keen on that curve. I'm just going to bring that back down a little bit. It's all about tweaking here. Down here, I don't use any of the lens corrections here unless I have, or you can do enable lens correction here, so it kind of gets rid of a bit of vignette for you. But if you want to keep that vignette, you can even add a bit more down here by just moving this slider and helping focus your eye onto the subject. Adding grain for even more of a film look. If you zoom in, you can really see the benefits of this. So if you punch that grain up, then if you want to make it even more noisy or add more roughness, just to make it look even more older, then you can do that as well. If that's not your thing, then you can just turn it off. But I kind of like it on, so I'm going to leave that. Let's have a look. One of the main things that I love to use is the brush tool up here. This is awesome. I love this. It's fantastic. So I can adjust if I wanted this sky to be a little bit darker, and only the sky. I can bring down the exposure here and then start painting onto the sky a darker sky, if that makes sense. So you can play around with this. It's a pretty cool feature. Or if I wanted to, now this is a feature only in CC, you can highlight, if I just get rid of that. Before I go on though, as well as that, you can even adjust the color of the sky by changing the temperature. Obviously I'm just doing this really quickly to show you. You can change it. You can all down here, like you can when the brush setting isn't on. Down here you have all the same settings as you do with the brush, so I can try and make it darker, or I can try and make it, if I might wanted it to be brighter, for example. You can do whatever you want. It's pretty cool, really versatile. Selective coloring is pretty cool. Oh, sorry, going back to the new feature of Lightroom, this one here. So I can highlight just Sonil, who's a fisherman, by the way, I met in Sri Lanka. So I can highlight just him, and then everything outside of the circle will be affected. So I can almost create a vignette around just my subject, rather than the vignette coming and going into the middle. It can go wherever you want. So I can adjust it here, and then I can adjust the feather here a little bit too much, and then take that off. So I'm just doing this really kind of more of an extreme just to show you, but I'll just bring that back a little bit. So it's all about subtlety. If it looks too obvious, then it's if someone can see it, if they notice it, it's too late, because then it's become too obvious. So it's all about being really subtle with this kind of thing. I might actually just leave it. I might not even need it. It's just yeah, it's cool, pretty cool. To be honest, that's pretty much it. Looking at the horizon line, so this is where I would do the crop. Oh, it's already been cropped. If I reset that to what it was before, so that's what it was before. You can grab the crop tool and you can start rotating it. And what's really cool is it rotates in real time, so you get an idea. But what's great is if you grab this tool and then draw a line across your horizon, so from there to there, it will change it for you. So it's straight, which is brilliant. You've got a red eye reduction mode. Don't really need to use this. You've got a gradient tool, which we can use to maybe bring down the exposure over here if we wanted to. We can come over here and we can see that it's already highlight. It's already bring the exposure down. So come around here. Oh, looks like I've actually already got one on over here. So if I take that off, that's what it looked like when it was off. And yeah, so for me, it feels like there's negative space, but it's too bright. My eye feels like it's being drawn to there, which I don't want to do. So if I bring that gradient tool back on and draw back what I had on before, it just kind of just takes your eye, just stops you from lingering over there, because your eyes are naturally drawn to highlights, to the brightest point. So always make the brightest point of your image your subject. So that's why I added that gradient tool. I mean, I could have, if I wanted to, changed my crop. I could have brought this in like this and then completely cut out that distracting element. But in terms of composition, I didn't like this so much. Just felt like he was too far over to that edge. So I used the gradient tool instead, which I really like. So that's that photo. So moving on to this next one. This is all three of these are photos from my Sri Lanka trip. So again, I would just simply go through and find one that I will like. Okay, I kind of dig that one. It's a bit too bright, so I'm going to instantly come over here and start making my adjustments to this image. So that's pretty good. I'm going to just bring the clarity up a little bit, just make that punch a little bit more. Bring the shadows up a little bit, a bit too shadowy for me. Just come to my crop, make sure, oops. And we're just going to make sure that that's straight, which it is. That's cool. Actually, I think I might go with a different filter. I don't think I'm feeling this as much. Actually, no, we'll stick with it. We'll stick with it. I'll make it work. We'll make it work. All right, so I'm just going to introduce a little bit of that green tint that I always like to add into my images. So there, just that instantly makes me love this photo even more. Just simply changing the white balance. White balance to me is so important. Color is so important to me. Always like to make sure that the color is correct. So let me just show you what it looked like before. That was with that kind of, it's not until you change it that you realize, oh God, that really was quite red. But then if we redo that tint, just gives it that more of earthly tone to it, which I think suits this photograph and most of my Sri Lanka images, to be fair. Looking at this, it's a bit too highlighty up here, so I think I'm going to just bring my brush tool up here and kind of just get rid of this distracting element through here. Just kind of paint around this area. Okay, so that's what it looked like before, and that's after. So I might have gone a bit too far down here, so you can't really go back, which is annoying. It's not like, that's the only downside to this, is that with Photoshop you're working with layers, whereas this, you're not working with layers, so it's a bit tedious if you want to go back, but it's just one of those things you have to just get used to. Alright. Okay, I would like it, I remember originally when I edited this, running into this problem, is that I can't, it's too blown out. These tiny little specks are just blown out. So there's only so far I can bring the highlight down. So that's all good. I'm going to take the brush off, just maybe tweak the clarity a little more. Yep. I may even use the brush, reset these, and bring the clarity up, and then just paint on his robe to make that stand out even more. Sometimes I do this on clothes and on hair as well. Doing it on hair is pretty good. Don't ever do it on someone's face, trust me, especially a woman's. Okay, and I'll just show you again the before and after. If I take that away, just adds a little bit more detail to that robe. And scrolling down, so this is pretty cool. Selective coloring. I can change the hue, saturation, or luminance of any color, well, of most of the colors anyway. So just to let you know, luminance adjusts the brightness of a color. So I can bring this down. It's going to adjust the brightness. So most white people have kind of an orange tone in their face. So when you bring down the orange, you're going to be bringing down the luminance of their color of their face. Saturation will affect the color, the color, how colorful that color is. So I can bring down the orange, and you see what's happening there, or the green, for example. I can just bring down the green, or the hue. Hue changes that specific color, so I can go again to the green, and that will change the green from kind of like a bluey tone. So this is a really cool little button here. So if you don't know exactly what color you want to change what the color actually is, you can go over to this little button, hold it, just click it, and then you can hold down and then go up and down, and you can see it's changing that color. So this has a little bit of green and aqua in, so I thought it was just green, but obviously there's a bit of aqua in there as well. So it's being able to give you a much finer detail. Now I kind of like the green, so I'm going to leave it there, but maybe it's a bit too colorful, so I can come along to the saturation, click it again, and then click it again, and then maybe bring that down so it's just not quite as colorful as it was before. So I think about there, it looks good. Coming down to the highlight, just having a look here, maybe want to make it just a little bit warmer, add a bit more green to it because I like green so much. Nope, changed my mind. I will just add a bit more yellow to it just to give it a bit more warmth. Rarely will I touch the shadows actually, because it just the shadows look a lot, I don't know. Okay, yeah, that's pretty cool. So this is the beauty. So it's you never know how the image is going to be. It's always about playing, just messing around with the sliders, just moving that slider from left to right and seeing exactly how it affects the image, and then just finding what feels right on all the sliders. That's pretty much what I do. I never know exactly how the image is going to turn out. Don't even know if it's going to be black and white, but more or less it will be color. But I never know what it's going to look like. I never have a vision in terms of editing what the image will look like until I start playing around with it, because I mean, as much as I try to not spend as much time on here, I do also like just messing around with the filters as well. That's pretty cool. Messing around with the curve. If you want to change a specific color in the whole thing, so if I want to go to red, I can bring down the reds, but I think I'm going to leave it where it was because it looks okay where it was. Going down to the RGB, do that little thing where we add a bit more of that filmic look, but I'm just going to keep the highlights up here. So up here is your highlights and down here would be your shadowy areas. But I think I'm just gonna, yeah, I think I'll leave it there. That looks kind of cool. Sometimes I like to do this before a beauty shot goes into Photoshop, is I like to zoom into the eyes, and I could go to the brush, reset everything, bring the shadows up, and I can just bring the shadows up in just the eyes. This isn't a brilliant example because I'm quite far away, so we're not really going to see that much of a difference. So when also when you hit your brush, you can see where all of the effects I've had, and if you hover over it long enough, you can see exactly where it's been painted, so you can almost remember what exactly filter you use. So I know that that was the clarity one because it's just all over his body, and then that would be the eye one. What's really cool is if you wanted to, you can, what makes this workflow so much easier is you can copy everything that I've done and paste it onto the next photograph if you wanted to. So if it's a bride and groom, or if it's a model, and you've just like click, 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 click. So nothing's really changed. The exposure's not changed. They've not changed. You could just copy and paste by just going Command C if you're on a Mac, or Control C, I believe it's on a Windows, and then you can copy and then go along to the next one and paste. Now, well, it's not going to look good because it's a completely different photograph, but in theory you can do that. So it has now pasted everything from that previous photo. What's really cool is you can choose what it copies as well. So you may love this photograph, but you don't want the white balance to copy over because it's different, or you may not want the crop. So I always turn the crop off because the crop's always different with every photograph, even if it is the same thing. I never like the crop because I might forget about it because it will crop it automatically, and I may forget that it's cropped and it might not have needed it. But yeah, so that's what you can do. You can copy the settings there, which is pretty handy. Okay, moving on to my last example. Again, just going to scroll through and see which one takes my fancy. Again, I can't remember which filter I ended up using in the end, so we may just end up making this photo even better by finding an even better filter. Who knows? Okay, well, I actually own this film for real, so I really like the codec portrait. So let's try one of these. We'll try that one. It's a little bit overexposed, but luckily I shot in RAW, and bringing down the exposure, it's all gonna look okay. So about there. Okay. What's really cool is if you want to adjust white balance and you want it to be perfect color, then photograph something. Photograph a piece of white or a grey card, and then you can use the eyedropper tool, and then select what was white that you photographed, or if there was something white in the photograph, then even better. And then you can just select it, and it will change the color to the right color. Now this isn't proper white. She was wearing a cream, so this wouldn't have worked, and it hasn't. So I'm just going to go back, and since there's nothing white in the shot, I'm just going to have to just do it by eye and just get it to a look that I like. So as I always like to move it again towards the tint. I always like to move the tint towards green. I don't know, maybe it's just my camera, but my 5D Mark III just likes to chuck out a little bit of a red, more of a red tint than I like. Maybe I just like green. I don't know, maybe it's that. Okay, so I'm gonna bring that up, the clarity up, bring the highlights down a bit. It's a bit too punchy about there. One thing I do remember with this photo is I did a lot of brush work. So this woman here, she just caught a little bit of my flash. It was mainly aiming at Miss Furricombe here, but luckily it spilled onto her. But I want it to highlight even more, so we're going to use the brush. But before I do that, I just want to edit a few more settings just before I do the brush. Bring the shadows up a bit, and now bring the exposure down a bit more. That's better. That's better. Yeah, about there is pretty cool. I think that was close. All right, and then in the highlight, I want to highlight this a bit more. So I'm going to go to clarity, and I'm using just a mouse and just using the little wheel, and then that moves my brush size up and down. Just going to bring this up. So as I said before, your eyes are instantly drawn to the brightest part or highlights. So I'm making this highlighty and punchy to draw more attention to it. I'm going to draw a little bit of attention to her backpack as well. Well, not backpack, don't know what exactly they're called. Tea picking bag. Just bring that back. So I just hit spacebar and then I left mouse click just to zoom in. Okay. Now I think I'm just going to highlight her a little bit more, so you can go to new if you want to create a new brush rather than using the same one, because you may want different values, and then obviously if you start changing the other one, then it's going to affect it. So if we stick with the clarity, just kind of highlight her arms. And maybe bring the exposure up on her arms a little bit. Maybe do the same on here, on her neckline. Let's punch that a bit. That might be a bit too much. Yeah, a bit too much. My eye is drawn over there, so a few undos. Yeah, I don't think she needs any more on that cheek. She already had a little bit of punch. I don't think it needed any more. Yeah, I think that'd be okay. So it's just that little bit of punch. Now, I've done this a bit too quickly, but you can see there where there's a bit of brightness here, and it kind of looks like maybe a brush has been added, because this bit of white here looks a bit artificial. So when I did this properly, I just was a little bit more fine-tuned and just went for it a little bit easier. But yeah, so just forgive me on that. Probably highlight her hand here. I don't think I did that in the final one, actually. Just maybe just highlight that a bit more. Highlight up here a bit more, just make her stand out a little bit. What else? Maybe see if I can get the sky a little bit darker. So rather than using a brush, I might just go down to luminance and then bring down the blue. I'm just going to pick that color and then bring that color down. So I don't want to go too far because the trees are starting to go a bit weird if I bring it down too much. Let me show you. You can see it looks like there's an obvious horrible edging there. I don't like that, so let's just bring that up so it doesn't look as obvious. I could have, if I wanted to, bring in a little gradient and just make that a little bit darker. But it's not affecting it too much because actually it's pretty blown out here. So this is an example, even shot at raw. Yeah, this is just far too blown out. Even the raw wouldn't be able to recover that, but that's fine, that's cool. I may even want to just highlight a little bit down here where it's a bit shady down here. So I was never good at good at art at school, so this is as close as I can get to being an artist. This is how I do my painting. So you just adds that little bit of punch, maybe a bit too strong there, so I might just come back a little bit on that because we don't want it to look too artificial. Because I could go extreme and bring it up there, but then it looks like just it just looks weird. Maybe bring the saturation down a bit, it's a bit too colourful. Bring the vibrancy down, there we go, now we're getting close. Bring the blacks up a little bit, make it look a bit more punchy. There we go, that's pretty close to what the final one there. Maybe add a bit more contrast. No, changed my mind. Let's scroll down. Anything else I want to add? Always add sharpening, but first we're going to hold down our Alt button and highlight just those edges there, and then bring the sharpness up. Again, holding down Alt, you can see now the reason why it goes black when you hold Alt and you increase the sharpen is because naturally our eyes are better at judging sharpness when the image is black and white. When you take away luminosity and you're left with just the alpha channel, it's like if you've ever been to a TV station and all the camera operators are looking at a black and white screen, that's so that it's able for them to focus easier because it's black and white image and not a coloured image. We can notice things a lot easier out of focus if it's black and white. All right, and that's pretty much it. But then When you're ready to save, you just highlight them all. I can go Command A, which selects them all, go to File, Export, and then that's gonna send them all. I can do a number of different things. I can change the format to TIFF files. I'm just going to leave them at JPEG at 100% quality. I could limit the file size if I wanted to. If it's for web, I can say change it to 1000 kilobytes, which would be 1 meg, but we would just leave it at 100% JPEG. I could resize it if I wanted to. Don't need to sharpen it because I've already added my own sharpen, and I don't really know how much sharpen it's going to add, so I prefer just to leave it. You can add your own watermark as well. I prefer not to though, because again, if it goes wrong, you've got to do them all again, or re-export them again. You can go to custom settings. So rather than just see, there's one of the main things that I like to do is give it custom names. So you don't want to deliver JPEGs to a client that says IMG_1049, because it doesn't look great. If it's a wedding, then it's Joe and Margaret, Joe and Margaret's wedding, and then underscore, and then I add sequence number, so 1 or 2, 3, etc. So Sri Lanka underscore, and then add in sequence 01. Then when you hit done, the start number will be 01, and there's the example of what it would look like: Sri Lanka 2015 underscore 01 JPEG, and then hit export, and you're done. Well, that's just sums up my workflow in Lightroom, guys. Hope you enjoyed that. If you liked it, make sure you hit that like and share button, or subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube. And I'm actually doing a photo exhibition, so if you're watching this before the 24th of March 2016, I will be hosting my first photo exhibition of my work in Sri Lanka, including these 3 images and a bunch of others, in association with a charity called Take Heart Mersey Mission. If you want to learn more about that and come along to my photo exhibition in Chatham, then all the details are in the description box below. It will take you to a Facebook event where you can learn a lot more about it. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.